How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to read the words of trading, whether the price is going up or down. Over on Dixie for the daily, we did push down and reject that 102 area. We could push down toward our 101 gap. We are currently filling that 102 gap. So remember, that 101 gap would be our next support if we do not hold in this range. If we continue to sell off, we could see crypto continue forward. They are acting more inversely related right now. Our momentum is starting to push down. We do have a red dot as that VWAP does want to push down that yellow wave. It's very weak, so watch it as money flow could continue to weaken if that VWAP does not hold bullish. Stochastic and RSI are pulling back, so overall I would exercise caution, but that would be good for the crypto market. Over on Bitcoin dominance for the daily, if we can get our volume profile to show up, we are still above that value area high. We are trying to make a bounce. This does show that Bitcoin did better than our altcoins. I would watch for this trend to not kind of continue. If you want your altcoin run, you want dominance to weaken while Bitcoin increases lower than our altcoins. So you would want to see Bitcoin at the 0.84 and our total at the 2%. So over on the total for the daily, we are trying to break that 300 EMA. We are struggling to hold above it. Remember, we need to break above and hold if we're going to continue further. Stochastic does want to push up. RSI is trying to gain strength. VWAP does want to bounce off that neutral. Momentum is pushing forward, and our money flow does want to flip from red to green. So if that VWAP can sustain a bullish push, momentum will push forward and money flow could flip. That would give us a flip on the daily and give our altcoins some further hope of pushing forward along this double bottom that we could be having. Remember, that could give us new highs on some of our altcoins. But over on the stochastic, for the 4 hour, we are pushing up, RSI is pushing up, VWAP is pushing forward, momentum's gaining strength, and money flow did flip green, so we do look positive. We do have higher lows. We are trying to make a higher high. If we can make that higher high and it does not connect well with the lows and highs, then we could push forward, making a bullish continuation. However, if the highs and lows do end up connecting, making a rising channel, we could end up breaking away. So I would exercise caution if we hit that 300 EMA and reject down. Stochastic does want to push up, RSI wants to push forward, VWAP's trying to gain strength, so we do look positive. That does need to sustain on lower time frames though. Over on our 2 hour, momentum is starting to round as VWAP does want to pull back. Watch if VWAP can stay above neutral. If it can, momentum will remain bullish and money flow could continue to push up. That would give us the strength to push those higher time frames forward. Over on the 1 hour, we are struggling with our 300 EMA. Watch this very close. If we do not break above this and hold, then it's likely we could end up rejecting and pushing lower. Stochastic is pulling back, momentum is rounding. We have a red dot, so watch as that VWAP does want to reject. That suggests momentum could pull back and money flow could start to drop away. That would weaken those higher time frames and start to push us down, as this is starting to become red for a prolonged period of time. Remember, when the trend flips for a prolonged period of time, it can start to weaken those higher time frames or strengthen it, depending if we're becoming bullish or bearish, and red is bearish. Over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we are starting to pull back. I would watch. We do have a slight gap below us, but nothing too big. Our stochastic does want to round away. RSI could pull back. VWAP is struggling. Momentum wants to push up with bullish divergence, and our money flow is pulling back. So watch that VWAP close. It needs to favor more bullishly and get more strength if that money flow is going to reverse and push forward and give us a bullish trend. Over on the 4 hour, we are trying to run forward. We do have higher lows. Watch if we can make some higher highs out of this. If we reject the 61 and continue lower from here without making a higher high, it's likely bears could gain control and push us down. However, if we do make a higher high and break that 300 EMA, that's where we could see that push forward to our 65.5. Our stochastic does want to round, momentum is rounding, VWAP is pulling back, money flow is favoring bearish, so watch that money flow close. The VWAP and momentum are remaining bullish, so as long as they make a bounce off this neutral, money flow could flip bullish and push forward. That would be depending on these lower time frames though. Over on the 2 hour, we hit that 300 EMA and got rejected, so that would have been your sign we could pull back. We are trying to push forward, but we're seeing some indecision. Stochastic does want to round with orange above blue. RSI is pulling back. Momentum is rounding. VWAP is pulling back. Watch if we break that neutral. If that VWAP breaks neutral, we could see lower lows with lower highs, and we could see the bears gain strength. However, if we do bounce off that neutral, momentum would remain bullish, and money flow could go from red to green and give us that trend reversal. Over on the 1 hour, kind of inverse of the 2 hour, we are holding above the EMA here, that 300 EMA or black line. If we can maintain above this and get strong green candles, unlike we're trying to push down now, then we could push forward. But if we continue to reject like we are trying to do right now, then we could see a breakdown and a further slide here. So I would watch if we hold around that 59K. If we do not, that's where we could see our lower price targets. Momentum is pulling back, stochastic is selling off, RSI is pulling back, VWAP is favoring bearish, and money flow is pulling back. So overall, the 1 hour does look like we could start to pick up further bearish momentum here. Over on Bitcoin for the daily, we did call this symmetrical triangle in our Discord. If you're not a member, you should be, because you would have been able to make a move on this green candle. Stochastic did push up, RSI is pushing forward, VWAP is trying to stay bullish, momentum is pushing up, and money flow does want to push forward. Our Discord is free, by the way. Over on the 4 hour, we did say to watch for a bounce on the lower time frames. We did get that bounce, we can cover that. But you want to watch for your breakout. You get your breakout, a bounce, a retest, and a bounce forward. That gives you your move up. We did get our full move up, so this pattern can be deleted, but we'll do that in the 1 hour. Stochastic doesn't want to push up, RSI is starting to pull back above, stochastic remains bullish, RSI could stay in the overbought range, and price could still push forward. VWAP is staying bullish, momentum is pushing up. Watch as that VWAP flattens. If it starts to pull back, we could end up breaking that neutral if we're not careful. Over on the 2 hour, we did hit that 300 EMA and we got rejected, so that could be a sign that we could start to pull back. I would watch if we retrace this pattern and break through. That's where we could start to fall flat there. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is weakening, momentum does want to round, VWAP is pushing toward that neutral, so watch close. If it breaks through and gets a lower low with lower highs, we will see momentum pull back and money flow will remain red. That will show that we are having more sell-off than buying, and we could end up retracing all our gains. Remember, when you move one way quick, you can move the other way quick, just like all this whiplash action back here. So over on the 1 hour, that retest, we got our break forward, we got pulled back to the top of our pattern, and then we continued forward. That would have been your sign to get in and try to make a move forward. It did happen very quick though, so it could have been very hard, because most people that got on this wick, where it's mostly candle wicks and no body, that's mostly people that had their trades set in advance. That's why you want to make things in advance. Stochastic does want to pull back, momentum is rounding, VWAP is pushing down, causing our momentum to weaken. So if that continues, money flow will remain bearish, and we will see those higher time frames weaken. That would ultimately give us that retracement of this quick move forward. So we are going to delete this now that we have talked about it on the 1 hour, because that is where we covered it in that Discord. So over on graph for the daily here, we are trying to push forward within our channel. We did push on the bottom, but we are continuing up. We are trying to hold that 14,316. That does look positive. Stochastic is pushing up, RSI is gaining strength, VWAP does want to stay bullish, momentum is pushing forward, and money flow is starting to go from red toward the green, so we will need to see if VWAP stays bullish. Over on the 4 hour, stochastic does want to push up, RSI is pulling back, VWAP is bullish, and our momentum is pushing forward as a result, but if that VWAP loses strength, our momentum will follow. Money flow is bearish, but if that VWAP and momentum can get higher highs and higher lows, we could see that money flow flip bullish. Watch for the lower time frames to flip bullish. This 2 hour has been bullish for quite some time, so that is positive. VWAP is staying bullish, so if we can get higher low with consistent or higher highs from here, momentum could continue up, money flow could make a bounce, and we would start to strengthen that 4 hour. Our stochastic is pulling back, RSI is pulling back, but as long as that VWAP can stay bullish, we don't have much fear of that sell-off. So over on the 1 hour, stochastic is pulling back, starting to round forward, so that does look positive. That could help push RSI and price up. VWAP is breaking bearish, watch it very close. If we make a higher low here and then follow it with consistent highs to this wave, then we could see momentum remain bullish and money flow could push up. But if this VWAP struggles to break that neutral and stays under it, we will see momentum weaken, money flow will remain bearish, and those higher time frames will start to lose some further strength. Over on Ankr for the daily, we do have a long lower shadow that is positive. That could show we have bullish momentum. Again, watch for confirmation, just like we covered on that pattern. VWAP does want to pull back, stochastic is starting to round, RSI is pushing forward, momentum does want to gain strength, and money flow is pushing forward, so watch that VWAP close. If that VWAP can sustain the bullish momentum, we could see money flow gain strength there. Over on the 4 hour, stochastic is pushing up, VWAP's pushing forward, momentum is gaining strength, money flow does want to push up. We do look positive. This could help continue us forward. We are struggling to fill our gap though, so I would watch. If we do not fill this gap, we could end up retracing and then filling that gap later. Over on the 2 hour, stochastics pulling back, watch it. If that orange gets above blue and holds, RSI and price could start to slip. VWAP is pushing down, momentum is rounding, and money flow does want to push down, so these three do look more bearish. I would watch. If that VWAP does not bounce off our neutral, momentum will break down and money flow will follow. Over on the 1 hour, we do have a reversal arrow, but we're holding that 300 EMA. If we can drop down, fill this gap, and then continue forward, that would be a more ideal move. I would just exercise caution. We do have a gap at that 24.76. So we have several gaps below us that could weaken us. Ideally, we would drop down, fill those gaps, then push up. It wouldn't be too nice to see that drop down, but we do have gaps above us that we could end up filling. If we fill these upper gaps first, then that could set us up for a further push down later. Stochastic does want to round away. Momentum is starting to round with the red dot suggesting it wants to push down. And VWAP is starting to break bearish, so watch that VWAP. If it gets lower lows and lower highs, momentum will continue lower, money flow will break down, and higher time frames will break down, filling those lower gaps below us. Over on XRP for the daily, we are struggling with that 57 resistance. We are trying to break through it, so I would watch for confirmation. Stochastic does want to pull back. RSI is trying to push forward. VWAP is indecisive, and money flow wants to push up. I would lean more toward the lower time frames because that daily is very indecisive. We are currently filling a gap on the 4 hour, so that is positive. Remember, they have an 80% chance to fill, so I would watch for further bullish momentum from here. If we get that, our EMA bands could start to spread apart, and that would give us a bit of a bullish run forward, just like back here. Stochastic is pushing up, VWAP is staying bullish, momentum is pushing up, but money flow is bearish, so watch that VWAP close. It needs to stay more bullish on lower time frames for that money flow to go from red to green and give us more buying pressure. Over on the 2 hour, we had a long lower, but now we're following it with a red candle. I would watch because this could end up setting us up for further losses. VWAP is starting to pull back. We have weak highs starting to break toward that neutral. Watch if we get a lower low. If we get a lower low, then cannot get higher highs than this. Momentum will pull back, money flow will break. However, if that VWAP can make some higher lows and higher highs, momentum and money flow could push forward and strengthen higher time frames. Over on the 1 hour, momentum is starting to break down. RSI is pretty flat. Stochastic's weakening. VWAP does want to pull back. I would watch that. If it continues to pull back, momentum will break down and money flow will start to follow. Finally, on ALGO for the daily, we do have a long lower here as well, but it's very indecisive. The body is very weak. Stochastic does want to round. RSI is pushing up. VWAP is trying to stay bullish. Momentum wants to push up, and our money flow does want to go from red to green. So I would watch those lower time frames. If they stay bullish, we could see a run up. Over on the 4 hour, VWAP is pushing up. Stochastic's gaining strength. RSI does want to push forward. VWAP is pushing for a higher high. Watch if we can get higher highs and higher lows from here. That could start to push us in a more bullish momentum and a more positive manner. Over on the 2 hour, Stochastic does want to round. RSI is starting to pull back. Momentum does want to round as well, so I would watch. If that VWAP breaks our neutral, momentum could start to sell off and money flow could continue to deepen in the red, and that would weaken those higher time frames. Finally, for the 1 hour, Stochastic's pretty flat. Momentum does want to round with a red dot, so I would watch that. If that VWAP breaks our neutral, we could see that momentum break down, and that would give us further selling pressure and a rejection of our 300 EMA. If we reject that EMA and break our band, we could see a push down toward that 1032 again, and possibly lower if we're not careful. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I appreciate all of you. Have a